Luke 19.
Yep. In fact, do you know we're a week away? Do you know by the end of this chapter, we're going to be moving into Jerusalem with Jesus? That's how quick this has been moving, right? Now, I don't know if you know this, but over all of the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, 4 chapters have to do with his life between his birth and 30 years old. Over 85 chapters have to do with the last 3 years up to his crucifixion until he was crucified.
Wow.
The writers of the gospel knew the importance of that last 3 years, right? In that last 3 years, he had his ministry. And the last few we've been talking about when he turned and he headed towards Jerusalem. He's on his way. He's a week out. By the end of this chapter, we're going to be cruising into Jerusalem with Jesus. Because they knew how important these last few was, right? And in the end, that's when he was getting all his disciples. He was teaching them. He was giving all that wisdom. And this chapter, I love this chapter, is he has made it blunt through the whole ministry on his way back to Jerusalem what's going to happen. Your king's going to roll into town. He's going to get insulted physically and mentally and everything else. And then he's going to end up getting killed. It's going to happen. And they keep ignoring him. It keeps going over their head. No, that's not what happened. No. We've studied the scriptures. You're going to take over the government. You're going to be up on the pedestal. You're going to run the government. And we're all going to live happy. And he's like, no, I'm becoming king, just not in the way that you're expecting me to. You're expecting me to take over a government. I got no reason to want to take over a government. I didn't come over here to take over a government. I came here to create a way for your salvation. And I'm going to do that through my death. And he made that apparent, right? So let's get moving. Chapter 19. It's kind of a big chapter, but we'll get it. Then Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now, if you want to know, Jericho is like a main hub, right? It's a bustling city. It's well known. It's very strong in that area, and it's very near Jerusalem. He's getting close, right? But this is a very famous. It's like New York, right? To us, it's everybody knows about it. Everybody's heard about it. Everybody heard about what goes on there. They know about Jericho real well, right? So Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now, behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. All right, so you got Zacchaeus, right? This whole story, this first story is based around Zacchaeus, and he's a chief tax collector, right? Which, if you're a chief tax collector, means you run a whole area, right? Not just like a town, but you run an entire area. Now, in those times, the Roman government ruled over all of this. Okay? Now, as the job as a tax collector, it was the most hated position, but it was a very wealthy position. Because Rome just said, hey, I need you to collect this much money from this area, and anything you make over that, you get to keep. So say the Roman government's like, I need $10,000 from this area. Well, he would collect 20, but 10 in his pocket and give 10 to the Roman government, and he would keep them happy. But he would line his pockets, and that's why the tax collectors were very wealthy, because they would hike up the prices. Now that ensued where you had no idea what the tax bracket actually was, because it was all due to that guy's mood and what he wanted to charge and how much of a profit he wanted to make. So it wasn't standardized. They had a ton of taxes, right? In Rome, there was a tax that if you breathed their air, you had to pay a tax. So if you were alive, you had a tax to pay. You had a road tax, you had an income tax, you had all these kind of taxes. Just the most wild one is if you breathe, you've got a tax to pay. And so it was from girls from 12 to 65, and it was from boys from 14 to 65. If you breathed, you had a tax to pay. And then they just added on top of that. So in these areas, these tax collectors were hated because there was no regulation. They could gouge you for they could take 90% of your paycheck and make you live off of 10 if they wanted to.
Tariff.
They would go after them. Right. So, anyways, you have Zacchaeus. 2, he was very rich. Okay, 3, and he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not because of the crowd, because he was of short stature. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Roman area during that day, the average height of a man was 5 foot tall. Okay, the average height. That's what we're concluding from how tall all their doorways were. Okay, but the average height was 5 feet tall. So if he was of short stature, the little guy, right? I don't know how little, but little guy, right? Real short, small guy, because, 5 foot's kind of short, but I have it even shorter than that, especially in this area. I don't know what they feed Idaho and Utah people, but these people are monsters out here. If we needed basketball players, you come to these states. Just tall people, but this you got to understand. The average height was 5 foot, and then you got someone that was even known for being shorter, right? Which is crazy. Because he's the tax collector. He's the most hated man. But on top of being hated, he's also real short. Real small guy, right? But he was real good at what he was doing. He was rich. So 4. I love this. Because Zacchaeus is such an interesting character. 4. So he ran ahead, climbed up in a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass that way. Now a sycamore tree, it goes up and it goes really far out. And the branches are really strong. So you can climb out on the branch even though it stretches out and it won't break the branch. They're real sturdy trees, okay? So this little guy, the most hated guy, this little short dude goes running through the crowd, climbs up a tree and goes out up on the branch so that he could see Jesus. Isn't that wild? He's supposed to be like he's supposed to be representing the Roman government, the big tax collector, right? And he's this little guy, and he's running through a crowd. Not walking, running through a crowd, and climbs up a tree so he can go see this person named Jesus. Isn't that wild? That's a whole other story on itself, right? 5. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must stay at your house. So Jesus sees him up in the tree, and he goes, hey, you. I want to come stay in your house. Get your butt down here. So then he has to crawl out of the tree and run over to Jesus, right? And I'm guessing he's making haste, so he's scurrying, right? He's got little legs. He's got to get to him quick. And he's all excited because he's about to stay with him, right? 6. So he made haste, and he came down and received him joyfully, scurried. 7. But when he saw it, they all complained, saying, he has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Ooh. How many times has Jesus done this in his ministry? Over the last 3 years, how many times has he sat with tax collectors? How many times has he sat with murderers? How many times has he sat with thieves or liars? He didn't come to save the righteous. He came to make the unsaved righteous. Amen? 7. But when they saw it, they all complained, saying, he has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore fourfold. Now, isn't that a statement, right? You come to stay into my house, and I've taken what I've taken. Not only will I give back what I've taken, but I'll give back 4 times what I've taken. That's a big number. You understand what he's saying? He's like, oh, I'm coming to the Lord. I'm giving it my all when I come to the Lord. My all and more, right? 9, and Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because he also is a son of Abraham. He's a Jew, right? This tax collector is a Jew. He's like, this Jew has come to me. This Jew has made it right with me. 10, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save which was lost. God came to save those who were lost. 11. Now as they heard these things, he spoke another parable, because he was near Jerusalem, and because they thought the kingdom of God would appear immediately. Like I said, they thought he was just going to take over the government and be the king. They weren't understanding that he was becoming a king in a totally different way than they were expecting. 12. Therefore he said, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive himself a kingdom to return. Now, this parable is based off historical event. And it's one of the only parables that is based off a historical event. Because this did happen with one of the leaders. He went to Caesar. Because in order to rule over a land, you had to go to the Roman government, you had to go to Caesar and ask Caesar, I want control over these lands. And he had to give you that inheritance, right? So there was a man who asked to go get the inheritance, and the area sent a group of 50 people to Caesar and told him, we don't want this, we hate him. He's a horrible person, we do not want him to rule over us. And Caesar's like, I really don't care. So he ends up sending him and making him ruler of that area, right? And that's what this parable is based around, okay? So let's get into it. So he went to a far country to receive himself a kingdom and to return. So he called 10 of his servants and delivered to them 10 minas and said to them, do business till I come. But his citizens hated him and sent delegation after him, saying, we will not have this man reign over us. And so it was that when he returned, having received the kingdom, he then commanded these servants to whom he had given the money to be called to him, that he might now know how much every man had gained by trading. So he goes away, he's trying to get rain, they didn't want it, he got it anyways, he came back, but in the meantime, he was giving them an opportunity. I'm giving you some inheritance and I want to see what you're going to do with it. I want to see what happened. And when he got back, that's what he's doing. He's asking, okay, come to me because now I want to see what did you gain while I was gone. 16. Then came the first, saying, Master, your mina has earned 10 minas. And he said to him, well done, good servant. Because you were faithful with very little, have authority it over 10 cities. You gained 10, so here's 10 cities. If you can control the little, you can control a lot. In abundance, right? 18. The second came, saying, Master, your mina has earned 5 minas. Likewise, he said to him, you'll also be over 5 cities. So they received the same amount of share, right? The first one gained 10. So he got 10 more to take care of. The second one gained 5, so he got 5 more to take care of. He got what he built, right? The third one, 19. Likewise, he said to him, you also be over 5 cities, 20. Then another came, saying, Master, here is your mina, which I have kept put away in a handkerchief, for I feared you, because you are an austere man. You collect what you did not deposit and reap what you did not sow. That feared you, right? There's a fear of the Lord, which is a respect and a faith in who God is. This fear is talking about a fear from a servant's perspective or a slave's perspective who fears their master, who's scared to death of their master, right? Because we're not supposed to be scared. When we're talking about God, there's a fear to be feared of God, but it is not a fear of a slave to a master that is afraid that he's going to get beat. Does that make sense? So that fear was different. So 22, and he said to him, out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was an austere man, collecting what I did not deposit and reaping what I did not sow. When then did you put my money in the bank, and that my coming I might have collected it with interest? And he said to those who stood, take the mina from him and give it to the one who has 10 minas. But they said to him, Master, he has 10 minas. For I say to you that everyone who has will be given, and from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. But bring here those enemies of mine who do not want me to reign over them and slay them before me. What Jesus is trying to get about here is if you're not with me, you're against me. It's quite simple. And because what he's talking about here is that he gave you the gift of salvation. He gave you the good news. It's your job to go out and spread the good news. Right? It's not your job to just come here every Sunday and sit, look pretty, and hear a message. Right? right? I'm here to equip you so you can go out and you can spread the good news yourselves. That's what our job is. We received the gift, the grace of Jesus Christ. And in that receiving, we now have the privilege to go tell everyone else. I heard this before. One of the most selfish acts is being content and going to heaven alone. And let that sink in. Everyone that you know, don't you want them to go with you? Because in order for them to go is to put their faith and trust in Jesus Christ and who He is and what He did. So why aren't you spreading the good news that, hey, you can come with me? We can spend an eternity with the love and the grace and the Creator of this universe if you just put your faith and trust in who Jesus Christ is. Come as you are. You don't need to clean up yourself right now. You don't need to do that. Come as you are. Come to Christ. Give your faith and trust in Him, and He'll change your life. But you got to put your faith and trust in Him. We're living in between 15, or we'll just go to 28. Here we go. When He said this, He went on ahead going into Jerusalem. And it came to pass when He drew near. Okay, this is one of the hardest names to pronounce in the Bible. It's Bethphage. J. Bethphage. J. Yeah. And Bethany, at the mountain called Olivet, and He sent 2 of His disciples, saying, Go into the village opposite of you, where as you enter you will find a colt tied, and on which no one has ever sat. Loose it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, Why are you loosening it? Thus you shall say to him, Because the Lord has need of it. Now, what a wild command, right? And at this point, they've seen so many things that they do what Jesus asked, right? Even though it's wild. And you're like, well, how is that wild? Okay, what if you were standing outside the city and Jesus says, you know what? Go into the city, go over to the car dealership, walk into the office, grab the set of keys, and then when they ask you what you're doing, say, Jesus needs the car. And then walk off with the car, or drive off with the car, right?
That's gonna go over, babe.
Right. See how much of a wild request that is? That's kind of nuts. He's saying, go into there, go grab a donkey that's not yours, and tell the man Jesus needs it, and then walk out with the donkey. That's a heck of a request. But His disciples knew who Jesus was. They knew what He was capable of. You remember what He did with Peter? How many times did He do different things with Peter, right? Hey, Peter, you've been out fishing all night, but I need you to throw the net overboard right now. Peter's like, you're crazy. I'm a fisherman. Stick to it, bud. All right, I ain't going to catch no fish. It's early in the morning. This ain't going to happen. You catch them at night. By morning, they're out in the middle of the lake. What are you talking about? No. Humor me. Throw the net overboard. He throws the net overboard, and he catches more fish than he's ever caught in his life.
Yeah.
Right? Remember the other story where he tells Peter, he goes, go over to the lake, catch a fish, and when you catch a fish, you pull out the fish, and there'll be a token in its mouth, and that token will be enough to pay your taxes. He went and caught the fish, he got a token, he paid his taxes. Man, that would be nice right now, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you love to catch a fish right now to pay your taxes? I'd love to send that to IRS and be like, here's a picture with my fish. Right? Send him on his way. But, no. He tells him to go into town and grab a donkey that's not his. And just to say, Jesus has need of it. Now, imagine the faith and trust that you need to have to do that. And then today, if you felt like God told you to go to that car dealership, you'd be like, you sure about this? I'm going to get arrested if I drive that car off the lot. It'll be a problem, right? But there was a faith and trust in who Jesus Christ was, because they just spent 3 major years with Him, seeing all kinds of things. From miracles of people coming back alive, to miracles of people being healed, the blind being able to see, the lame being able to walk, the leopards being cleansed. They've seen some major stuff happening. And they're finally getting to the point where they're going, okay, we're not going to fight you. You're going to tell us to go into town and get a donkey? I'll go get you a donkey. That's fine. I'm going to go. 32. So those who were sent went their way and found it as he said to them. But as they were loosening the colt, the owners of it said to them, "Why are you loosening the colt?" And they said, "The Lord has need of him." Then they brought him to Jesus, and they threw their own clothes on the colt, and they sat Jesus on him. Now, another thing I want to point out there is that it is a colt that had never been sat on. Jesus was the first person to ever sit on that colt. Now, that's amazing in itself. I don't know if you know about riding horses or colts or donkeys, all right? The first time doesn't go well. But for Jesus, it went well because it's Jesus, right? But here's the other thing. The colt is the donkey is such a significant point. The only ones that rode donkeys were kings, and it was either they were getting anointed or it was a time of peace, right? At the end of a war, and they were finished up with the war, he would ride in on a donkey as a sign, as it is a sign for peace. Peace has come to what we're doing. When he rode into Jerusalem, he was riding in on a donkey as the king coming in because peace was now here. 30 something.
36.
Thank you. 36. As he went, many spread their clothes on the road. And then as he was drawing near the descent of the Mount of Olives, and the whole multitude of disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works they had seen, saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest." And some of the Pharisees called to him from the crowd, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." So he's hiking down the mountain on the donkey, coming down towards Jerusalem, right? And they're praising their name. They're saying, God's here. The Messiah has come. He is here. And the Pharisees, the big wig religious folks, are going, rebuke your people because they're saying that the Messiah is here. Don't you love his response? But he answered and he said to them, "I tell you that if these should keep silent, the stones would immediately cry out." He's saying it's time. For 3 years he has told people, no, shh, don't tell nobody. Don't let nobody know who I am or that I'm here. Right? This is the first time where he's like, say it out loud. Scream it out loud. Yell out to the heavens. I'm here. We're here. We're coming into town. It's happening. Let them know who I am. And if they don't, the ground will.
Stones.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy to say that?
Yeah.
If they don't, the stones will. Why? Because I'm here. It's time. It's happening. What I've come to do is come to be. And I am here now. Listen up. He shut the Pharisees up one more last time, right? Just makes them a little angry, but that's fine. 41. Now as he drew near, he saw the city and he wept over it. Now, there's only one other time that we know that it said that he wept, right? Which is the shortest verse in the Bible. But he said that he wept, and it was over Lazarus' tomb, when his friend Lazarus died, right? But there were two different weepings. So when Lazarus died, that weeping that he did was a silent wept. It was where his eyes swelled up and he was sad over his friend. This weeping is more of a outward showing. It is more of an upset. It's outwardly showing, I am very, very upset, right? It wasn't just standing there with tears in his eyes going upset. He was upset. He was mad. He was sad, angry, upset. Like he had so many emotions that he was making sure that everyone around him knew what was going on. And in that, he says, he wept. If you had known, even you, especially in your day, the things that make for your peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. For days will come upon you when the enemies will build an embankment around you, surround you, and close in you every side, and level you and your children within you to the ground, and they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not know the time of your visitation. He is so sad because he's been trying to let everybody know what's going on, and everybody's ignoring him. Just like in Revelation, we know what's to come, but people are ignoring it, or they're thinking, I've got time, right? You don't got time. You got right now. You make a choice right now. You don't wait till tomorrow to give your life to God. You give your life today. Because you don't know if the next 5 minutes you're going to hear the trumpet sound and we're all going home. Your citizenship is in heaven. 45. Now this is a precursor to the next week, but it's a good little ending point. Then he went into the temple and he began to drive out those who bought and sold in it, and saying to them, "It is written, my house is a house of prayer, and you have made it a den of thieves." And he was teaching daily in the temple, but the chief priests and the scribes and the leaders of the people sought to destroy him, and were unable to do anything, for all the people were attentive to hear him. Now, you got to understand what they were doing in the temple at this point, right? They had people traveling from all over the world. When Jesus came in on the donkey, I want you guys to know this. When Jesus came in rolling in on the donkey was the day that they chose which sheep they were going to sacrifice for that event, right? And during that one, what's his name? Oh, now I'm going to blank on it, aren't I? Josephus. There we go. I'm sorry. The historian Josephus, right? He wrote down sometime in that area that there was over 256,000 sheep slain at that one Passover. Now, it was a minimum of 10 people per one sheep. That means there was millions of people there. Do you understand how many people that is? That's a whole lot of people, right? Now, in the city, in the temple, they made it a point to turn it into a business where they could make money. So much so that if people were traveling a long way, they wouldn't travel with animals. So when they got there, they would need to buy an animal to sacrifice. So they would sell those animals in the courtyard. Or you'd have people travel with an animal. They'd come in with the animal. They go into the temple for the Pharisee to do the check. The Pharisee said, "This animal's not good enough to sacrifice. I'll sell you this one." And so they would sell that one. And then they would turn around and they would take that one, and then they would deem it good to sell again, and they'd resell the one that they just sold that person. They were manipulating people in order to make a dime. They were doing what they could. And not only that, they had their own currency. People were coming from all over the world, or all over the place, right? Far and wide. And they all had different currency. So in order to spend in there, they had to transfer it over into whatever the church's currency is. And that currency rate was crap. Okay? The way that they set it up, they made a lot of money exchanging currency. Because the way that they exchanged over, it made their dollar into pennies. All right? They were taking advantage of the whole situation. All these people were traveling. That's how they were making money. The church was turned into a business, and that's a real issue. And I think it's a real issue today as it is back then. I don't think churches should have that much money. Not if they're not doing anything with it. But when they're building big buildings and they're building these banks and they're building these movies and they're building all these things and they're doing all this, they could be helping people. They could be helping the poor. They could be helping the women and the widows and the children. But instead, they have all these money. We have these super pastors that are worth millions of dollars. That's insane. We're here to spread the good news, not get rich off of it. The good news is what makes you rich. Rich in your soul. That's what gains your salvation. That's what we're here to spread. We're not here to make a bunch of money off of it. It's not the first time that he's gone in there and turned tables over, right? He made it a point. This is a house of prayer. This is for you to come and worship and spend time with me. Not to make a dollar, not to make a dime, not to just make a profit so you can live lavishly. The Pharisees had the best clothes, the nicest clothes, the best food, the best houses. They were living in large, while the rest of them that they were teaching were trying to figure out how to get a loaf of bread for the week for their family. That is such a hard thing to see. They just got so misguided. Well, I'm doing well, so that's all that matters. No, we're here to spread the good news. We're here to spread the gospel. Jesus Christ lived and died for your salvation. He died for your sins so that you can spend eternity with Him. He rose 3 days later and He's coming back. He did that for you as a gift. You didn't earn it. You can't earn it. There's nothing you did to earn it. It was a gift from God because He wants to spend eternity with you, because He loves you. He wants to give you that way, that route, that possibility. He says, it doesn't matter what you've done, what sin you created, the barrier that you put between me. As long as you come and put your faith and trust in me, you can spend eternity with me. God loves you so much. And we need to spread that love. We need to spread that gospel. We're called to be fishers of men, to be disciples. Not to just show up on church every Sunday. It's to go out and spread the good news. I got my free gift. You can have it too. Because He died for every single one of us. And let me tell you, heaven's not full either. Heaven's got plenty of room. Only God knows how many people are going to show up, right? But you got to make that decision today. You got to make that decision right now, because He could come in the next hour. You could hear those trumpets soon. But spread that good news. Make that decision now. Give your life 100% to God. There's no neutral. There's no neutral. You ain't going to get to the end and go, okay, I'll lean to God when I get to the end. Right? There's no neutral. There's making a stand. And believing in your faith and who you are, and being able to pronounce, I am a follower of Christ. Follower of Christ. Amen? All right.